What's up, man?
There it is, the men.
Get it all figured out.
Yeah.
What's up, man? How you been doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. How about you? I saw earlier you're snowed in. How's the
Yeah,
weather out?
yeah. Yeah, I think we got like 16 inches of snow yesterday, something like that. So, been
I
pretty
live
crazy.
yeah, I live in Tennessee. If we get even like a half an inch, they're canceling school. um, how's your training been coming along?
Good, real good. It's kind of crazy to be training my butt off and actually having a fight scheduled yet. So, it's been crazy just growing as an athlete, growing as a fighter the last couple of months.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been about over a year now since your last performance, right?
Yeah, yeah. Last time I fought was last November against Posnibio. It's been well over a year at this point.
Yeah, that was a tough fight against him. What was like the game plan for it and everything like that?
That was the difficult part. There wasn't a game plan going into that fight. That was one of the biggest things that I realized at that point. I mean, um, when I'm fighting those guys in the top five or some of the guys that are best in the world and they have their full camp behind them, I can't just show up on fight night and be like, all right, here it is. I'm going to go out there and do what I do and win the fight. There has to be a lot of precision, a lot of time put in to actually be effective at the things that are going to be the key success on fight night. And I didn't do that against Posnibia. I just kind of went through camp, worked hard, trained hard, was in shape, ready to fight. But I didn't necessarily have a plan going into that fight.
Yeah, it's hard to plan for all them leg kicks and everything.
Yeah.
And that seemed like to be a big part of his game plan.
I mean, they did a good job of breaking down film on me and realizing some of the holes that I had and some of the ways that they can take advantage of some of the tendencies that I had. And in that fight, he did just that. I mean, he attacked that outside leg kick over and over and over. He didn't press against the fence to tie up or anything like that. So there are a lot of things that him and his camp did well going into that fight.
Would you want that fight back eventually?
Oh, absolutely, man. If I get a chance to fight him or RDA again, like those are two fights I'm definitely ready to get back for sure.
Um, have you seen that you've moved up to number 15 in the rankings?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going back and forth in this whole ranking things. I mean, over the last couple of years, I mean, like seriously, I mean, the last couple of years, I've seen some guys who went over a year without fighting, lost a couple fights, and somehow managed to stay in the top 15. I was ranked 7 before my last fight. I lost that fight, and then within a year, I fell out the rankings from not competing. So at this point, it is what it is. I mean, I don't really feed into the rankings too much. I mean, is it cool to have that 15 behind your name? Yeah, sure. But at this point in my career, like I'm chasing that C behind my name. So
Yeah.
I don't really care about the numbers at this point.
Yeah. You've beaten some top guys like in Hendricks, Condit, Lambert, and Gaslam, and other people as well. Do you feel like that's been a part of like helping you get back into the rankings and everything like that?
So it just like I said earlier, it's one of those things where it's real hard to really dictate or say how those rankings are really even coming out. I mean, like I said, like to go from number 7 to not ranked at all to back from being ranked. I mean, it's real difficult to even understand what it is or what the criteria is to get ranked. I mean, I've seen some guys that just jumped on the rankings without ever facing a top 15 opponent. All of a sudden, they're ranked far ahead of me or whatever else it may be. So, like I said, at this point, like it's something that I don't even care about. When I saw that I wasn't ranked, I was like, man, this is the first time in 5 years I'm not ranked in the UFC. It wasn't a boohoo, poor me, pity party type moment. It was more so like, okay, cool, I'm not ranked right now. Watch what I do. Watch the work that I put in. Watch me rise right back to the top again.
Yeah, and a part of the reasons you fell out of the rankings and everything is the whole deal with USADA. I feel like what all happened with that?
Yeah, so even with this whole USADA thing, I mean, that was something that was pretty unfortunate, and I'm glad that the end result is what it is. But it was an unfortunate situation. I mean, to be told a week out from a fight that you're not fighting due to a low-level positive that USADA found through unconventional measures, I was just like, wait, what? Like how is this even possible? But like I said, it's been a real lengthy process. We were able to actually go through, figured out everything that was involved with that test, showing up the way they did, and actually get it set where no fighter would have to go through what I went through. So much so that a couple months later, Nate Diaz was able to get a positive finding for the same exact substance that I tested for. But because of the work that I put in months prior to that, they were able to look at it and see that it wasn't something that gave him any kind of advantage over his opponent. It wasn't something that he intentionally took. And it was no harm against the athlete. There was no foul against the athlete, and Nate Diaz was allowed to go out there and compete still.
Yeah. There's actually a fan question about that I was going to get into later, but we can go ahead since we're already on the topic. It's from MMA Daily Post. Do you have any animosity towards the UFC or USADA for treating your case and Nate Diaz's differently?
No, I mean, my case was the reason why Nate Diaz's case was able to get resolved as quickly as it did. My case and me staying on top of it. I mean, this wasn't just an easy process. Like I had to hire a lawyer and get a lot of people involved in this situation, and there were a lot of people who played a key role in making this thing what it is now. So, is there any animosity towards the USA or USADA? No. Am I a little bit bitter at times because I missed out a whole year competing because of it? Yeah, sure. But at this point in my career, I'm not injured. I'm healthy. Training's going well. So a matter of time for I'm back in there making money, making moves, and moving back towards the top of my division. So there's no animosity, no hard feelings at all towards USADA or UFC based on that situation.
What exactly was the substance that was found in the test that made you fail?
So it's some product called LGD4033 from a Google search and everything else like that. It's a type of SARM, and it's also a medication that is found to treat osteoporosis and some bone degenerative diseases. So it's and so much so that's actually in like different types of lotions and shampoos as well. So it's just one of those things that's it's pretty unfortunate that there are some of these things that fall in that category as being a banned substance, but in reality have no effect on the athlete whatsoever. There's no, at least in that amount that it was in, has no effect on the athlete whatsoever. So even though it took 5-6 months to get it resolved. I'm glad that it got resolved the way that it did. And the policy was changed where if it's at low level picogram amount of something like that, that's not giving an advantage, and it could be contributed to contamination, then that's what they'll consider it. They're not going to punish the athlete for something that's out of his or her control.
Yeah, you brought up picograms. Do you feel like the king of picogram, John Jones, do you feel like he was continuously using and then just now getting away, or then got away with it because it was so low?
No, not at all. I mean, like even after going through the whole situation I went through and seeing and having to deal with that with what I dealt with, I'm wondering if he was ever using it to begin with. I mean, when you have some of these contaminants that are in water supplies, in over-the-counter foods, in supplements, and whatever else it may be, it makes it extremely difficult to really try to trace where this particular thing came from. The fact that John Jones was only testing positive for picogram levels and never anything above that leads me to believe that he was probably never even in cheating or doing anything intentional to begin with.
Yeah. How was your Ultimate Fighter experience and just like going from amateur to or not amateur, but like lower level organizations to like getting up to the Ultimate Fighter?
It was really cool. I mean, like I was one of those guys who tried out for Ultimate Fighter 4 times for finally getting selected as being one of the guys to even get an opportunity to fight for the house. And even then, when the opportunity finally came, a week before I made it onto the show, I busted my ribs up in training and was considering not following through and not taking that initial fight to even get in the house, how bad my ribs were. And it was just one of those things that once I was presented the opportunity to finally compete for the Ultimate Fighter, I was just like, all right, there's nothing holding me back. Like I'll deal with the bruised, broken ribs, whatever, and deal with it later. But at the time, it just felt like there was nothing that would stop me from getting the opportunity. And once I did take advantage of that, it definitely worked out for me. I mean, from the initial season, I think I was one of 4 guys who got a chance of even fighting for the UFC. And after that first year of competing in the UFC, I was the only one of those 4 guys who actually was still under contract with the UFC. So yeah, it's been a great experience with the UFC from the Ultimate Fighter, and here I am 20 fights later, still reaping the benefits of that experience.
Yeah, you've been in the UFC for how long now? 7, I think I saw.
Yeah, so I've been UFC since on the UFC banner, I should say, since September or August of 2012. So going on 7 years now.
How how does how many different negotiations and how do those work and everything like that about getting re-signed and everything?
It's been pretty cool. It's been a pretty cool experience. And like at the end of the day, it's something that I'm able to learn about day by day. I mean, I'm not one of those guys like from an amateur to a regional pro to the Ultimate Fighter to UFC to top 5 to where I'm at now. I've never been in a position where I had a manager or someone telling me how to do it, where to go, who I should fight, who I shouldn't fight. Those are all things that I kind of managed to do myself and took on myself. And it worked as part of the experience for me. And not to say that having management is bad. It's just one of those things that for my particular journey, from my particular experience, that's the way that I went about doing it. And that's something that I can say I'm proud about. And it added to the journey for me. I mean, there's not a single person that's going to say, oh, because I did this, Neil Magny was allowed to do that. Like everything that I've gotten from the UFC with the UFC was all directly from hard work. It wasn't any politics involved. It wasn't any like, hey, if you do me this favor, I'll do you that favor. It's all just hard work, showing up, and dedication. And here I am 7 years later, still proving it.
How many more fights you got left on this current contract?
So currently I'm 3 fights in on a 6-fight contract in the UFC.
You got any names that you would want for the next 3? Or maybe the
Oh
next
man,
one?
if I had it my way, I'll be fighting Vicente Luque in February, and then I'll be turning right back around and fighting the winner of who is it? A winner of RDA versus Mike Chiesa in April in Brooklyn. So if I had it my way, that I'll be jumping right back in the mix, staying active, climb my way to the top. So if I can get Luque in February and then win that fight and jump right back into competition again and get the winner of Chiesa versus RDA, that'd be an ideal world for me. But we'll see how 2020 plays out.
Has there been any talks about the next fight?
Yeah, there's been a couple of talks going back and forth. Haven't really got opponents yet, just because how jumped up the division is right now, and people coming off injuries, people coming off various things like that. So I haven't really got a name yet, just kind of got a time frame. So I'm expecting to return back to the cage in February. As far as who I'll be, I'm not quite sure yet.
Speaking of the division, who do you got for the Usman Colby fight?
I'm sorry, what was that? You cut off a quick second.
I said, speaking of the division, who do you got for 245 with Usman and Colby?
Oh man, that's an interesting one. I mean, it's kind of hard not to answer that one, not being biased, to be honest with you. I mean, in that fight, I think, I'm just being biased. I just want to see Colby get slapped by whomever it is. So I'm going to go with Usman on that one. But it's going to be an interesting fight for sure. I mean, both guys match up pretty well. I mean, they're both real good wrestlers. Neither their striking is that great, but I think it's going to come down to their determination and who can out wrestle who.
How do you feel about the BMF title and the belt and everything like that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How do you feel about the BMF title, the belt, and all that stuff?
I actually thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I'm glad that UFC is finding different ways to market their fighters and promote their fighters and give guys an opportunity to go out there and earn a living for themselves. I mean, if you watch what that BMF title did for Jorge Masvidal, I mean, it took him from like a couple 100,000 followers on social media, so well over a million, close to 2 million now. So it really helped boost a fighter's stock, really helped boost a fighter's value and that kind of thing. So I'm all for it. I mean, if it takes a BMF title, nice guy title, whatever you want to call it, to allow another fighter to make more money, then I'm all for it. Let's go out there, let's promote each other, let's get paid, let's put on exciting fights.
Yes, but you brought up the nicest nicest man title, and I've seen a few people bring your name up for that. If that ever came up, who would you want for that?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to take that fight in welterweight, I mean, I think the only guy to really be able to match up with that would be Wonder Boy. I mean, we'll go neck to neck with that one. I mean, I remember training with him maybe, man, it had been at least 7 years ago. He came out to Colorado to help Nate Marquardt get ready for a fight. And during that fight, during that training camp, he and I got a chance to spar sometimes. And I remember hitting him one point and like apologizing, like, "Oh, sorry." And like I'm sitting there thinking in my mind, like, "Wait, we're sparring, we're supposed to hit each other. Why am I apologizing?" And same thing, vice versa with him. So I think if it came out nicest guy title, be between him and I.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be too much "I'm sorry's" after punches though in the actual fight.
Yeah.
We brought up the Ultimate Fighter earlier, and I actually had one of your opponents on a few nights ago, and Frank Camacho. How do you feel about Frank?
Man, it's been really cool to watch what Frank's been doing with his UFC career. I mean, like I said earlier today, from that Ultimate Fighter season 16, there weren't many guys that got an immediate shot at the UFC. And Frank's one of those guys. I mean, Frank Camacho was the guy that had to fight to get into the Ultimate Fighter house. And to see him do what he did in his career, fight his way through the regional circuit outside the UFC, eventually make his way to the UFC, and then put on exciting fights, like, man, I couldn't be happy for the guy. I mean, he's doing great things in the UFC, both at welterweight and 155. So wish him all the best.
Yeah, we have another fan about Frank. We have another fan question from EJ Cruz. It says, would you fight Frank the Crank again?
One of those things, to be honest with you, like right now, just with the way our careers has played out and where we're at right now in our careers, I just don't think it's a fight that makes sense for either one of us. I think Frank is committed to being at 155 now, no longer at welterweight. So I just don't see that fight playing out practically. So it's something that never really crossed my mind.
Yep. What's your favorite style to train in MMA?
Oh man, like more recently, been getting right back to jiu-jitsu. I mean, this is one of those things where you can like physically, you can physically see your growth in that area. I mean, I remember my first fight in the UFC. I'm sorry, my first loss in the UFC. I lost to a guy in Brazil who's an amazing black belt world champion in jiu-jitsu. And I remember I lost to him via mounted triangle. And that was something that I kind of took away from that fight and just kept working on. So a couple years later, I was able to fight Damian Maia. Damian Maia tried that very same technique on me, and it didn't work in that fight just because I clicked that technique away. I studied the technique and I learned how to get better from it. And then fast forward a couple fights later, I actually finished the fight with the mounted triangle after being submitted by years prior. So I just think being able to take things like that away from jiu-jitsu and really put the work in and grow from it, you can actually see it. And that's why I've been really focused on jiu-jitsu lately.
What did you play any sports prior to MMA?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you play any sports or do anything prior to MMA?
Yeah, so I first got started in MMA my senior year of high school. During that time, I was playing football, running track, and doing wrestling. I also wrestled in college for a bit. So that's kind of been my background with sports. I mean, I was a distance runner, so that explains the cardio in MMA. So I've been pretty active since high school with sports.
Yeah, speaking of being active, you had back-to-back most fights in a year or whatever it was, with 5 fights in each year. How was that like mentally and physically and training?
It was a great year, to be honest. I mean, it at the time, one of the coaches I had, we were constantly working on getting better, constantly working on improving. So whether won the fight, lost the fight, he was already pretty bad. Like, hey, you screwed up here, here, and here. Let's work on those particular things. So I just kept growing in those 2 years. I mean, to fight so often, you would think that you would go out there and have the same repetitive fighter over and over and over again, but that wasn't the case for those 2 years. I was able to really focus on technique, focus on tactics, and continue to improve fight by fight over the course of those 2 years.
Do you feel like it's better to fight multiple times in a year or space them out?
I personally feel like it's better to fight more often throughout the year. I mean, granted, if you're not injured and you're not getting concussed and that kind of thing, I think the more fights you get in a year, the better off you are. I mean, when I was fighting that often, it literally felt unstoppable. You didn't have time to think about the jitters. You didn't have time to worry about like all the things that could or may go wrong. You just kind of felt like, all right, cool, here we are. I'm fighting on this date. I'm gonna go out there and make it happen. You weren't too focused about the things that weren't out of your control. So I can remember, like, ideally for me to be a week out from a fight, I like to be about 184, 185 pounds or so. And that's the comfortable weight cut for me. So a couple of times when those fight offers came through, I was like, oh, wait, I'm 190 today and this fight's next week. How am I going to make that weight cut? And I had a better weight cut going from 190 to 170 as opposed to 184 to 170. And it literally made no sense, like when you look at it from the outside, but being in that moment and getting it done, it somehow was one of the easiest weight cuts I had. And that was one of the takeaways I had from fighting that out. I was able to figure out what worked for me and what didn't work for me, and I was able to kind of repeat the things that did and adjust the things that didn't.
Is the weight cut for you easy?
Yeah, the weight cut definitely is the easiest part of fighting for me. I mean, I don't have to go any kind of like strict diet or anything like that throughout training camp. Just kind of eating to maintain weight, eating for energy, eating for recovery. And then when it comes to actually sweating out weight in the sauna, I may be sweating out 3 to 4 pounds a day of. So the weight cut is definitely not difficult for me at all.
We got a question from Ross Giles 3, and it says, "Would you ever come back to Liverpool?" I'm guessing to fight.
Oh, absolutely. Liverpool was amazing. I mean, fighting in Liverpool, fighting in London, like just going back to the UK to fight in general, I think would be amazing. It was definitely a good experience for me. I mean, probably because I had to win there, but overall, I thought it was a great experience competing in Liverpool.
Then we got Jarrell63. He says, "Has being in Colorado improved your training more than any other location you've lived and trained at?"
I would think so. Like being in Colorado definitely helped me put everything together. So in Colorado, I have someone to help me with nutrition, someone to help me with sports performance, someone to help me with injury management, someone to help me with jiu-jitsu, someone to help me with striking, wrestling. Just like I have like specialized people in each individual group to help me get better throughout the years as an athlete. So Colorado has been that place that I found at where I had everything that I needed as an athlete, where other places that I trained before, I kind of had to fend for myself and figure things out for myself. Colorado has a pretty good network around the MMA community.
What gym do you train at?
So I'm currently training at Easton Training Center, part of Elevation Fight Team.
Elevation?
Yep, Elevation Fight Team.
I actually have Austin Herbert joining later.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great team, and this team's grown a lot over the last couple of years. I mean, we got Austin Hubbard, like you said, Corey Sandhagen, Drew Dober, Curtis Blaze, Justin Gaethje, just to name a few, Alistair Overeem. Like, this team's been amazing, man. It's been doing some great things over the years. So I'm really proud to be a part of this team, really proud of the work the team's put in, really proud of what the team's going to accomplish. So it's definitely a great place to be.
You brought up you want Luque next. What makes Luque so or what makes him so attractive as a fight for you?
He's a great fighter. He's a great striker. He poses a lot of difficulties for me to have to overcome. I mean, just watching him last year. I mean, he and I were scheduled to fight one another in May. Since that fight fell through, he went on to fight 3 more times and went 2-1, and they were all impressive fights. I mean, he ended up with I think 2 performance bonus, 2 fight of the nights, won performance of the night. So he's just one of those guys that really brings the fight. And I think a fight against Luke will bring the best out of me. I know I can't go in there and just kind of be lazy and not bring my best. So finding a guy like Luke, who's pretty much dangerous everywhere and is an exciting fighter, I'm sure is going to bring the best out of me. And that's the kind of fight that I look forward to.
What about somebody that he's actually beaten before? But how would you like a fight against Mike Perry if after his next fight?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fight that I definitely wouldn't turn down. I mean, I know Mike Perry's currently scheduled to fight, I think, Jeff Neal or something like that. So it's a fight that I definitely wouldn't turn down. He's another one of those guys that he's going to help make an exciting fight. Like, he's not one of those guys that's going out there just trying to hold you down, prevent you from moving, that kind of thing. He's one of those guys that, like, at the end of the day, someone's going to be bleeding, someone's going to get laid out, and the fans are going to enjoy it. So guys like Luke, guys like Mike Perry are guys that I feel bring out the best of me, and it's one of those situations where it's kill to be killed, and I'm not trying to be nobody's prey.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I have for you today. Do you have any like shout outs or call outs or anything like that you want to say?
No, not really at the moment. I mean, right now it's just watching Luke constantly. Like, all right, man, go and get healthy. I know we had a big year, but let's make this fight happen in 2020. I'll be waiting for you.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time out of your day to talk to me and everything like that.
Cool. Dope, man. Cool. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. No problem. I'll talk to you later.
All right, later.
Again.
Cool. See you.
All right, man. See you.